Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
Jack Dalton adjusted the straps of his seat as the spacecraft began its descent onto Xerxes. Beside him, his colleague and friend, Dr. Ethan Moore, an anthropologist, peered out of the small window, his eyes wide with the eagerness of a child. "Look at that vista, Jack. The dual suns setting over the horizon, casting that violet hue across the sky. It's nothing short of spectacular," Ethan exclaimed, his voice filled with awe. Jack nodded, sharing in the enthusiasm but with a more restrained demeanor. "It's beautiful, all right, but remember, we're not here on vacation. There's a lot of work ahead." The spacecraft jolted slightly as it entered the planet's atmosphere, prompting a few nervous glances among the crew. Captain Lisa Harrow, a veteran pilot of interstellar expeditions, reassured them over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We're experiencing a bit of turbulence as we enter Xerxes' atmosphere. All part of the journey." As the ship stabilized, Jack and Ethan collected their digital pads, loaded with language databases and cultural etiquette guides. They were tasked with establishing first contact protocols with the indigenous species of Xerxes, a humanoid race known as the Xerxes. "Do you think they'll be welcoming?" Ethan asked, scrolling through his notes. "I hope so. The preliminary reports from the drones showed they're socially advanced and curious." "That bodes well for us," Jack replied, double-checking the translation software on his pad. The spacecraft touched down gently, and the crew began to disembark in an orderly fashion. Jack and Ethan were last, taking their time to ensure they had all their equipment. As they stepped onto the alien soil, a delegation of Xerxes approached, their movements graceful and synchronized. A Xerxes, who stood slightly taller than the rest, stepped forward. His skin shimmered with a subtle iridescence under the light of the twin suns. "Welcome to Xerxes, travelers from Earth. I am Helix, appointed speaker for the Assembly of Elders." Jack took the initiative, stepping forward with a polite bow, a gesture they had learned was a sign of respect. "Thank you, Helix. I'm Jack Dalton, and this is Dr. Ethan Moore. We are honored to be here and look forward to learning from each other." Helix nodded, his facial expression one of calm scrutiny. "Your journey must have been long. We have prepared accommodations for you and your crew. Tonight, you rest. Tomorrow, we converse." As they walked towards the habitation area prepared for them, Ethan leaned over to Jack. "Did you see how he mentioned tomorrow? It seems they're keen on formalities and proper scheduling." Jack chuckled softly. "Or maybe he just wants to give us time to acclimate and not look like we're dragging through the meeting." Their conversation was interrupted as two more Xerxes, introduced as Lila and Lulu, joined them. "We are to be your liaisons during your stay," Lila said, her voice melodious yet firm. Lulu, with a slightly more playful tone, added, "We hope to make your acquaintance most enlightening. The Assembly is very interested in your culture." Ethan, ever the social butterfly, responded warmly. "And we are just as interested in yours. There's so much we can learn from each other." The group continued their walk, the twin suns of Xerxes slowly dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows and painting the sky in strokes of pink and purple. As they reached their quarters, Jack felt a mix of excitement and nervousness about the coming days. The potential for a deep and meaningful exchange loomed large, and he was keenly aware of the importance of their mission, not just for diplomatic relations, but for the broader understanding between two distinctly different civilizations. The morning light on Xerxes brought a fresh perspective, the twin suns illuminating the unique flora and fauna with an ethereal glow. Jack and Ethan had barely finished their breakfast when Lila and Lulu arrived at their quarters. "Good morning," Lila greeted with a warm smile. "Did you rest well?" Ethan responded with an enthusiastic nod. "Absolutely, the accommodations are very comfortable. And waking up to this landscape is quite the experience." "We're glad to hear that," Lulu chimed in. "Today, we thought we might start with a tour of our central community. There's much to see and learn about each other." Jack, already collecting his digital pad and recorder, was ready. "We're looking forward to it. It's crucial for our mission to understand the social structure and daily activities of your people." As they walked towards the central community, the surroundings buzzed with activity. Xerxes of all ages were engaged in various tasks, some in what appeared to be agriculture, others in artistic endeavors. Helix joined the group, seemingly appearing from a particularly vibrant building adorned with luminescent patterns. Jack, Dr. Moore, today you will see how our community thrives through cooperation and peace. We believe that understanding our way of life will lay a solid foundation for our future interactions. Ethan, curious as ever, asked, "What is the significance of the patterns on that building?" Lila explained, "Those patterns are historical records. We record every significant event in light, a medium we consider both art and memory." Fascinated, Jack took several photos. It's a beautiful way to preserve history. As the tour continued, Helix and the twins led them to a large, open plaza where groups of Xerxes were gathered. Lulu stopped and gestured to the crowd. "This is a daily gathering where we share news, ideas, and resolve any conflicts that may arise." Jack was impressed. A public forum seems to play a critical role in maintaining harmony. Yes, Helix agreed. Communication is key to understanding. After the tour, the group sat down in a nearby communal area where food and drink were served. It was here that Lila and Lulu presented their unusual request. Lila began, "Jack, Lulu, and I have been discussing your mission. We understand that you are here to learn about us, but we also wish to learn about human emotions and relationships." Lulu continued, "We are particularly interested in the human concepts of love and affection. These are areas we find fascinating and somewhat elusive in our own culture." Jack exchanged a glance with Ethan, who looked back with a hint of surprise. Jack then turned to the twins, choosing his words carefully. "That's a complex aspect of human culture. Love and affection can be expressed in many ways, through words, actions, and physical touch. Could you show us?" Lila asked innocently. "We read about the human kiss and other expressions of affection in your cultural files." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Well, demonstrating a kiss isn't typically part of our first contact protocols, but we believe that understanding these expressions can deepen our relationship," Lulu added with a hopeful look. Jack thought for a moment, aware of the potential cultural sensitivity. "Perhaps we can start with explaining and then demonstrating some basic gestures of friendship and affection, like a handshake or a hug. As for a kiss, that might be more complex. Let's begin with understanding each other's boundaries," Ethan suggested. "We can share and learn from each other gradually." Helix nodded in approval. "That sounds like a prudent approach. Let us learn and grow together." The twins agreed enthusiastically, and the group spent the rest of the day discussing and demonstrating various nonverbal human gestures, each learning from the other in an exchange of culture and curiosity that bridged two very different worlds. The following day, Jack and Ethan prepared for a session they had planned on human cultural expressions involving art and music, an area they thought would be enjoyable and enlightening for both species. Lila and Lulu met them at their quarters just after breakfast, both showing visible excitement. "We are eager to learn about your art and music," Lila said. "It is an aspect of your culture we find very compelling." Ethan smiled, his enthusiasm matching theirs. "We've brought some classical and contemporary music from Earth. We'll start with some famous pieces and explain the context and emotions behind them," Jack added, "and I'll share some of the most iconic visual arts from our history, from ancient sculptures to modern paintings." In a well-equipped room that served as their temporary cultural exchange center, Jack set up a holographic display while Ethan connected his music player to the room's audio system. "Let's start with something light and universally approachable," Ethan suggested, selecting a piece of classical music. "This is Spring from Vivaldi's Four Seasons. It's meant to evoke the feeling of the season through sound." As the lively strings of Vivaldi played, Lulu's eyes widened. "The sounds! They have patterns, almost like the light patterns we use for historical records, but more fleeting and ephemeral." "Yes, exactly," Jack chimed in, thrilled at her interpretation. "Music is often ephemeral and personal, but it leaves lasting emotional impressions." Moving on to visual arts, Jack presented a series of images, from the ancient cave paintings of Lascaux to Van Gogh's Starry Night. Each of these pieces tells a story or captures a feeling from the artist's perspective. Helix, who had joined to observe the session, reflected thoughtfully. Your people have a strong inclination to express emotions through various mediums. It's fascinating how you capture moments and feelings so vividly. The session progressed with Ethan explaining more about the cultural significance of different musical genres. He played a piece of jazz, followed by some classic rock and modern pop, explaining the cultural and historical context that gave rise to these styles. Music evolves with society, Ethan explained. Each genre not only speaks to a type of sound, but also to the societal changes and the emotional state of its time. Lila, thoughtful, nodded slowly. We understand better now. We too have forms of expression, though perhaps not as diversified in mediums. Would you like to see? Absolutely, Jack said, eager for a reciprocal exchange. The twins led them outside where a group of Xerxes artists were waiting with their tools, devices that emitted soft lights. As they worked, the lights danced in the air, creating complex three-dimensional patterns that told stories of Xerxes' culture and history. This is how we capture what's important to us, Lulu explained. Each pattern is a story, an emotion, a memory in our collective history. Fascinated, Jack recorded the light patterns with his device. This is incredible. It's like living sculpture, combining art with storytelling in a dynamic form. As the day ended, both groups felt a deeper connection, having shared key pieces of their cultures. Jack and Ethan thanked their hosts for the demonstration, and Lila and Lulu expressed their appreciation for the insights into human art and music. This exchange has been invaluable, Helix concluded as they walked back to the quarters. Understanding each other's culture deepens the ties that bind us, making our new friendship stronger. Jack agreed, feeling that this exchange was just the beginning of a meaningful dialogue between humans and Xerxes. As they said their goodbyes for the day, both parties looked forward to the next session, each curious and excited about what they might learn next. As the days on Xerxes progressed, Jack and Ethan found themselves more immersed in the culture and daily life of the Xerxes. The initial exchange of arts had opened up pathways to more personal discussions about values, beliefs, and emotions. One morning, as they gathered in a communal space for another day of cultural sharing, Lila approached with a more serious demeanor. Today, we'd like to discuss something that is essential to your understanding of us and perhaps less visible, our emotional expressions. Ethan nodded, intrigued. We're ready. Understanding emotional expressions can really deepen our insight into any culture, Jack added, and it helps us understand how to better communicate on a level that respects those expressions. Lulu joined them, carrying a small device that projected holographic images. Let me start by showing you some of the pivotal moments in our history, not just through patterns but through the emotions they evoked in our people. As the holograms flickered to life, showing scenes of community achievements, natural disasters, and periods of peace, Lulu narrated. Here, you see our joys, our struggles, and our periods of tranquility. But notice how subtle our expressions are compared to humans. Jack observed the holograms closely. It's fascinating. Your expressions are indeed subtle. If I may ask, do you experience emotions as intensely as humans do? Helix, who had been listening, answered. Our experiences are intense to us, of course, but we express them differently. We've often admired how vividly humans show their feelings. Eager to explore this further, Ethan suggested an exercise. What if we shared scenarios and discussed how each of our species would react emotionally? It could give both sides a clearer picture. Agreeing to the exercise, they began with a common scenario: loss of a loved one. Jack described the human emotional response, detailing the stages of grief and the typical expressions of sadness, like crying. Lila responded with how Xerxes handled grief. We retreat into solitude. Our community respects this period by contributing silence. Our grief is quiet, internal, but supported by collective respect for the one who has passed. Ethan, taking notes, reflected on the stark differences. It's a more internalized process for you, then. Interesting how support is offered not through overt gestures, but through respect for solitude. They move through other scenarios, celebrations of birth, achievements, and communal successes. Each time, Jack and Ethan shared the human perspective, and Lila and Lulu contrasted it with the Xerxes approach. As the session ended, Jack felt they had gained a profound understanding of the Xerxes emotional landscape. Thank you for sharing this. It's crucial for us to grasp not just the physical or visible aspects of your culture, but also the emotional undercurrents. Lulu smiled, pleased with the progress. And we are grateful to learn from you. It helps to see how our subtlety might be viewed by others and how we might learn to express more openly, perhaps. Ethan, always looking to deepen the connection, proposed another session. Tomorrow, let's talk about family and community roles. Understanding the dynamics in these areas could further deepen our cultural understanding. Helix agreed. It would be our pleasure. Each day we learn from you. We see new possibilities for our own growth. As they parted ways for the evening, the bonds between the human and Xerxes teams had evidently strengthened, a testament to the power of shared understanding and respect. Jack looked forward to the coming discussions, knowing each one brought them closer to a true intercultural friendship. As evening fell on Xerxes, Jack and Ethan were invited to Lila and Lulu's dwelling for a more personal cultural exchange. It was the first time the twins had extended an invitation to their home, and Jack sensed it marked a significant step forward in their friendship. The air was warm, illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent plants that lined the pathways. Lila and Lulu awaited them at the entrance, each dressed in attire adorned with the subtle, shimmering patterns that seemed to reflect their unique personalities. "Welcome, Jack and Dr. Moore." Lila greeted them with a slight bow. "We're honored to host you tonight. Please, come in." Ethan, visibly intrigued by the vibrant interior, took in every detail. "Your home is incredible. The light, the colors, it all feels so alive. Our surroundings mirror our moods and energies," Lulu explained, gesturing to a wall that shimmered in waves of green and blue. "This is how we create a sense of harmony within our spaces." Jack marveled at the way each color seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. It's like the room itself is a living part of your environment. "How do you control the colors?" Lila smiled. "We don't. The colors are a natural response to our emotions and intentions. Each hue reflects the energy of those within the space." Ethan leaned closer to Jack. "Imagine if homes on Earth could do this. People might communicate more easily if their emotions were literally reflected around them." Lulu nodded, hearing his comment. "That's an interesting thought, Dr. Moore. For us, it's a way of ensuring transparency with those we care for." As they settled into a sitting area, Lulu brought over a tray of small, delicately arranged refreshments. "These are some of our favorite foods. Each flavor corresponds to a different feeling: joy, calm, energy, and introspection." Jack picked up a small, amber-colored fruit. "What does this one represent?" "Joy," Lila answered with a grin. "Take a bite." As he tasted the fruit, a burst of sweet, vibrant flavor filled his mouth. He couldn't help but smile. It really does evoke a feeling of happiness. "Incredible." Ethan tried a blue-hued morsel and felt a sense of calm wash over him almost immediately. There's an unmistakable connection between taste and feeling here. We have foods on Earth associated with comfort or energy, but this is specific. Lulu leaned forward, her expression more serious. "Jack, Dr. Moore, we invited you here tonight because we want to understand human affection more deeply. We're particularly curious about the way humans form close, personal bonds." Jack exchanged a glance with Ethan, recalling their conversation from the previous day. "You're interested in how we express love and friendship?" "Yes," Lila replied, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. "We experience attachment and connection, but we've observed that humans are often more expressive in these matters." Ethan smiled, settling in for what he knew would be a fascinating conversation. "There's a whole spectrum of ways we show affection. It can be verbal, like telling someone you care about them, or physical, like a hug or a kiss." Lulu tilted her head, clearly pondering his words. "Yesterday, you showed us a hug, but the kiss that still intrigues us. Could you explain it?" Jack cleared his throat, trying to find the right words. A kiss, for humans, is a very personal gesture. It's a way of conveying closeness, care, or affection through touch. Lila looked intently at him. "Would you be willing to show us? We mean no offense, but experiencing it might help us understand." Jack and Ethan exchanged glances, understanding the unusual nature of the request. But both felt the trust they'd built with Lila and Lulu warranted an honest exchange. All right, Jack agreed, his voice soft but sure. He leaned forward and offered his cheek to Lila. She observed him for a moment, then gently pressed her lips to his cheek. Her touch was light, almost tentative, as if she were studying the gesture. Lila pulled back, her expression thoughtful. There's a warmth to it, an energy that feels genuine. Ethan, trying to lighten the mood, joked, Jack's pretty good at this, apparently. Lulu chuckled, then asked, and a kiss on the lips? Does it differ in meaning? Jack took a breath, choosing his words carefully. A kiss on the lips usually expresses a deeper connection, often romantic. It's an intimate gesture shared between partners. Lulu looked at him with understanding. Thank you for explaining. Your openness helps us see human connection from a new perspective. They continued discussing various ways humans express affection, through holding hands, sitting close, and even small, kind gestures like sharing favorite foods or listening to each other's worries. At one point, Lila shared a Xerxes equivalent. For us, intertwining our luminescent patterns is one of the most personal acts. It shows trust and unity. Would you like to try it? Jack nodded, curious to experience this aspect of Xerxes culture. Lila and Lulu extended their hands, their fingers glowing faintly. As Jack and Ethan held their hands, they felt a gentle warmth spreading from the Xerxes touch, and their surroundings dimmed, enhancing the glow from their hands. The patterns will respond to your touch, reflecting a part of your essence, Lulu explained softly. Slowly, intricate, intertwining patterns formed between their hands, a combination of swirling blue, green, and soft orange lights that pulsed with a steady rhythm. It was mesmerizing, like watching a living, breathing piece of art created from their connection. Ethan, captivated, murmured, "This is incredible. It's like our emotions and intentions are creating these patterns together." Lila nodded. It is our way of building trust and connection. The colors reflect the harmony between us. Jack felt a profound sense of closeness to Lila and Lulu in that moment, an understanding that transcended words. This feels like a promise of sorts, a shared understanding that needs no explanation. Lila smiled, a quiet warmth in her gaze. Yes, exactly. It's a bond, and now it includes you both. As the night deepened, they continued to share stories, laugh at each other's jokes, and explore the intricacies of their respective cultures. Jack and Ethan found themselves immersed in the gentle, glowing ambience of Lila and Lulu's home, feeling as if they had crossed an invisible bridge that brought humanity and Xerxes closer together. Finally, as the hour grew late, Lila rose, her smile warm and sincere. Thank you, Jack, Dr. Moore. Tonight has been a memorable experience for us. Ethan stood, nodding in agreement. And for us as well. I feel like we've made true friends here. Jack took Lila's hand again, feeling the lingering warmth. We're grateful for your openness, for sharing not only your home but your trust. With a final embrace and gentle luminescent touch, Jack and Ethan left Lila and Lulu's home, their minds and hearts filled with the unforgettable experience. As they walked back under the twin moons of Xerxes, both felt a deeper sense of purpose and connection, knowing they had made strides in understanding something beyond culture, a genuine friendship that would transcend their mission. The following day, Jack and Ethan met with Lila and Lulu at a quiet, shaded garden nestled within the heart of Xerxes community. The garden was a sanctuary, filled with plants that radiated soft, calming hues and emitted a faint, floral fragrance. Thank you for meeting us here, Lulu began as they all took seats on low benches. After last night, we wanted to understand more about physical affection among humans. It's a way we'd like to deepen our connection with you. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. Physical affection is one of the main ways we express closeness. It doesn't always have to be romantic. It can be a simple gesture between friends, too. Jack smiled and added, for example, when humans form a close friendship, we sometimes offer a shoulder pat or even a gentle hug. It's our way of saying, I trust you or I'm here for you. Lila looked at Jack with curiosity. Could you show us how these gestures feel? Of course, Jack agreed, moving closer. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling the warmth of her iridescent skin beneath his touch. Lila seemed to close her eyes for a brief moment, processing the sensation. "That's comforting," she said softly. "It's a simple gesture but carries a lot of meaning." Ethan, grinning, gave Lulu a friendly nudge. "This is called a nudge. It's lighthearted, meant to show that we're sharing a moment together, like an inside joke or an agreement without words." Lulu laughed, nudging him back. "I see. It's playful, a way to express joy without speaking." Jack then suggested a hug. "This one's more intimate. We usually give hugs to those we're close to, family, friends, partners." Lila and Lulu watched carefully as Jack demonstrated by hugging Ethan, who chuckled. "It's mutual support and closeness," he explained. Lila stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Jack in a gentle, almost tentative hug. Jack returned the gesture, surprised by how naturally it felt to exchange warmth with her. She pulled back, her face thoughtful. "It feels like a promise, a way of saying, 'I am here with you.'" Lulu mirrored the gesture with Ethan, both exchanging a warm smile. "I think I understand better now," Lulu said. "It's a language all its own." Jack nodded, feeling that with each small gesture, they were crossing invisible boundaries and bridging worlds. For both humans and Xerxes, these gestures were not just signs of friendship but steps towards something more profound, a deeper connection that words could never fully express. The sun was setting over Xerxes, casting long shadows across the garden as Jack and Ethan sat with Lila and Lulu, sharing a quiet moment. The previous days had brought them closer than they could have anticipated, and now, sitting together in the golden light, an unspoken connection hung in the air. Lulu broke the silence first, her voice soft. "Jack, Dr. Moore, we wanted to speak openly with you tonight. In learning from you, we've experienced emotions and feelings that are new to us." Ethan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of feelings, Lulu?" Lila hesitated, her gaze meeting Jack's. "Feelings of closeness, perhaps attachment. It's as if we understand the human concept of friendship and affection now, not just intellectually, but emotionally." Jack nodded, his voice gentle. "Emotions like these can be complex, but they're also beautiful. It's part of being close to someone." Lila looked at him, a slight smile playing on her lips. "We value the closeness we feel with you both. It's as though you're more than just guests here. You're important to us." Ethan leaned back, smiling. "And you're important to us too, Lila, Lulu. This experience has been more than just a mission for us. We've come to see you as friends, maybe even family." Lulu tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. Humans speak of affection in so many ways. Words like love, care, friendship, each with its own meaning. Jack nodded, choosing his words carefully. "Yes, each one captures a different way of connecting. Friendship is based on trust and shared moments. Care is about wanting the best for someone, even if it means sacrifice. Love, well, love is deeper. It's about feeling complete with someone, like they're part of you." Lila took a deep breath, her gaze intense. "We have no word for love, but I believe that's what we feel. It's unfamiliar, but strong. We don't want to lose this closeness." Jack felt a warmth in his chest, touched by her openness. "You don't have to worry about losing it, Lila. We're here, and what we've built together is real. It doesn't disappear just because we're from different worlds." Ethan chimed in, his tone lighthearted but sincere. "Exactly. Friendship, care, love. They don't have to be the same across species to be real." Lulu's face lit up, her usual playful smile returning. "Then let's make sure it never fades. Let's keep building this connection, as strong as it can be." Jack and Ethan nodded, each feeling the weight and warmth of the moment. As they looked at Lila and Lulu, they realized that what had started as an exchange of cultures had become something deeply personal, an unbreakable bond that words could only begin to describe. As the days on Xerxes dwindled, Jack and Ethan felt a bittersweet anticipation. Their mission was nearly complete, yet the bonds they had forged with Lila and Lulu made the idea of leaving feel heavy. The four of them gathered one last time in the quiet garden where they had shared so many revelations and moments of connection. Lila spoke first, her voice soft. Jack, Dr. Moore, knowing that you may be leaving soon, there's something we've been wanting to say. Jack nodded, a pang of sadness tugging at him. We feel it too. These weeks with you have meant more than we can express. Ethan, trying to lighten the mood, chuckled softly. I think he means we've made memories here that will last, no matter how far away we go. Lulu smiled, a bit of her usual playfulness still shining through. Then, will you promise us something? That you'll return one day? Jack looked at Lila, then Lulu, his expression thoughtful. I can't say exactly when, but yes, we'll find our way back. This isn't goodbye, it's just, see you later. The twins exchanged glances, and Lila reached for Jack's hand. In our culture, we say that a bond once formed continues beyond presence. We believe that even when apart, the connection remains. Ethan nodded, visibly moved. We have similar beliefs. It's called keeping someone close to your heart, even if they're far away. The group fell silent, each absorbing the weight of the moment. Then Lulu, with her usual spark, grinned. So, in keeping with your customs, would this be the time for a goodbye hug? Jack and Ethan laughed, each reaching out to embrace the twins. The hug was warm, lingering, conveying everything that words couldn't. When they finally pulled back, their hands remained linked a moment longer, reluctant to let go. Jack took a deep breath, looking at each of them. Thank you, Lila. Lulu, you've shown us so much about your world and yourselves. This isn't just a mission anymore. It's something we'll carry with us. Lila nodded, her eyes bright. And we'll carry your friendship and the things you've shared within us. You've left a mark on our lives, Jack. As the first of the twin suns began to rise over the horizon, casting a soft glow over the garden, the four of them stood together, bound by an invisible thread that spanned galaxies. Jack and Ethan knew that, no matter where life took them, they would always have a home here on Xerxes. As they turned to leave, Lulu called out, her voice filled with warmth. Remember, if you ever need us, we're just a star away. Jack and Ethan smiled, each silently vowing to return. They stepped onto the path leading back to their quarters, hearts full, carrying with them the promise of a bond that would never fade.